And it's not in the traditional sense where we have the brick and mortar church, but we have a message, we have a story to tell, and we have experiences, insight, and perspective to share. And people want to hear that, and people want to relate.
Right. No, I agree. And that's, sometimes it's, you like you say, you have a message and you want to impact people, but sometimes it takes a little like, okay, yeah, let's really do this. Yeah. Let's get it out there to the masses. Exactly.
Welcome to the Networking with Michelle podcast, the show dedicated on providing you the how-tos of marketing and networking strategies. Here we believe in the Jim Rohn quote, success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Hey everyone, today's special guest is Danny Harvey of the Dynamics firm. Also a good friend. I also got a shout out HBLI classmate.
Yes, ma'am.
Danny,
Class 2.
Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So just go ahead. For those that don't know, tell us about yourself. Danny Harvey, native Houstonian. I always like to say that with pride, represent the H, okay. Both sides of I-10. Like I say, grew up here, went to Texas A&M for undergrad. I had a great time there. New Alpha chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi, got to shout that out, Black Heart Noops. Came back to Houston after graduating. Went to work for Invesco. Oh, we met there. Right. And who would have thought, years later we'll be sitting here, but gotta love it. Spent some time there, had a great time, was blessed to move up in my career. Was a portfolio manager, traded over, $20 billion in assets and fixed income, the short end of the curve. Very impressive.
Thank you. Then, again, just always trying to look forward and look to the next level. I went to Bauer School of Business to get my MBA, did that, and then transitioned out of corporate America, did a little bit in oil and gas trading with Barclays, and then transferred to Entrepreneur Ventures.
That's a very impressive background, education-wise and career-wise.
Thank you.
Did you always know that you wanted to study finance?
No, to be honest, I didn't. I, like a lot of people, your parents or your family know you best, and you're smart, you're good at math and science, you should be an engineer, right? Engineers make great living, right? But it was more the economics behind engineering was, why I chose that major, but realized once I got to A&M and started to study it, that really wasn't my passion.
Gotcha.
And so the understanding economics and, when you're in college, you take classes and they expand your mind and your thought process. I learned and found economics and realized that was why I wanted to be an engineer. And I truly believe economics and then sociology is kind of the basis for why people do what they do. And so with that, I've changed my major to economics and knew I wanted to work in the financial industry.
That's real. So how long have you been on the path of entrepreneurship?
I would say on the path, probably, over, 20 years.
Okay.
Always worked, when I was in high school and, look for opportunities to, make extra money. So to me, that was kind of being an entrepreneur. But then, in college, it's always, we say the phrase, go to school, get a good education, get a good job. And again, it makes sense in some fashions. And so that's what I did. But I always had this passion, knew that at some point in life, I would, start my own business and start my own venture. But I wanted to make sure I was armed, with the proper tools to do so.
Right. Now, as you stated, I worked at Invesco as well. That was probably one of the best companies that I've worked for. So that was a very hard decision to leave because I'm like, I don't think I've ever been treated that good financially as well as a person.
Right.
So do you recall, when did you realize it was the right time to move forward?
Well, again, and I'm going to say this, I'm a man of faith, right? And I'd like to say I try to walk by faith because, again, sometimes, I'm a little stubborn and a little hard-headed with the Lord, which is, not a good thing. But, he teaches and he has grace and mercy. So thank God for that. But, at some point you realize, hey, you got the tools. And I will say the decision was, somewhat made for me as, they looked to transition my group to Atlanta. So I will, say that, sometimes the Lord just say, boom, yeah, you're not going to go, I'm going to push you. And I thank him for that, though.
Sometimes that push ain't easy. Lord. I get it. I think I'm actually going through that right now.
So entrepreneurship, you still doing? I know you start off doing the financial literacy is very, very important to you. What are some of the things that we need to focus on in our community when it comes to financial literacy?
One, getting the education, right? You got to get the education. You got to look for opportunities to learn and understand money and how it works. Again, as a believer, you don't love money, right? Money's not the root of all evil. It's the love of money.
Right.
Money's a tool.
Right.
And just like any tool, you need to learn how to use it wisely so that you can get the best benefit from the tool. And that's what we have to do with money and understanding, credit and things of that nature in our community so that we can leap forward. I like to say, if you can get education and have your finances in order, you've got a good plan for success. Obviously, from my standpoint, I believe faith is a part of that.
Right.
But education and understanding finances will help you and allow you to go a long way.
Now, you went to PWIs, predominantly white institutions. You just said you're on both sides. You're from Houston, both sides of I-10.
Yes, ma'am.
So
believe that.
When you were going through your education and these financial positions, what are some of the gaps? Like, I guess, how can I say it? What are some of the differences that our white counterparts are able to learn before we do, if that makes sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And like I said, economics and sociology give the basis for why people do what they do, right? And so the economics of it is not most, but a lot of our white counterparts or just counterparts in a different economic status, they get to see things that we don't see. They get to see you in one home that may be economically challenged, a new car may be a cash car, right? So they don't know about credit. Whereas in a new home where the economic status is a little higher, a new car is bought with credit, but with a short-term payment plan, not a long-term payment plan. So little things like that shape your view of things, or how do you get a new car and how do you pay for it versus, if you're in a situation where you see, okay, yes, you can put something down, you can get it on credit, but you pay it off as quick as possible, pay a low interest rate, don't pay a lot of interest. So little things like that, we don't see whether you talk about, a social demographic or an economic demographic.
Let's take that a little bit further when it comes to, I guess, life insurance, or having that financial, not just sustainability, but also the legacy. Because one thing I realized when I was in the financial industry, a lot of it, our white counterparts were able to either start a business because they received this lump sum of money, maybe either to put a down payment on a home or to pay off a home, because unfortunately, but it's like their parents have passed away, but then they receive either a life insurance policy or something, but they're able to receive that money and put it to good use, where some of us within our Black communities, we're not able to do that because it's like we're doing a pot, right? Everybody.
yeah. Pass the hat. Yeah.
So what are some things that we can do to minimize to that point? Because, life insurance, I guess, depending on when you start, it's really not that expensive, but I think our mindset, we're not there where we think, I'm not going to die yet. I'm too young. I don't need to worry about it. I don't have enough money for that. How can we overcome some of those mindset challenges that we can put ourselves in a better financial position?
Well, we always like to say, or in the community, as a father, you want better for your children than what you had, right? And sometimes it gets lost in translation, or what you may deem better, they may not. You hit on a point, life insurance. It's something that's value add to a family and to legacy and for protection. Let's look at gentrification, right? Let's look at neighborhoods where initially they were predominantly Black, and now we see a change and shift. Third Ward, for example, all right? So how does that happen? Well, a family may spend the time, buy the home, but then the children, or they don't have life insurance maybe, and so once the taxes need to be paid or things like that, they don't have the funds to keep the home. So things like that will help with legacy. Or if you do decide that you want to sell, you want to make sure you get the best price. So that's where education comes into play. And sometimes we don't have that knowledge transfer, or we don't go out and get the information. So one, again, going back to to education and finance, right? If you have the education and understand what the market is and go out and get that information, but also have the finances to keep the home if you so choose and wait to sell, you can possibly do that. So those are things that, we have to get out to our community, to economically challenged areas, so that they can make wise decisions.
Yeah. And how does the dynamic firm help people?
So, one, it starts with home individuals and families, right? We try to sit down with people and give them the education, right? So then they can make wise decisions about what they want to do with their financial future. We also do it from a consulting standpoint and coaching to help individuals that are looking to start ventures, give them that information, that education that they need. As from a business standpoint, I like to brand myself as the solutions provider. With that, I might not have every solution, but I can connect you to the solution or give you options so that you can make a great, educated decision.
All right. So lately, I've been seeing a lot of your videos.
Okay. Oh, by the way, we're Facebooking Live. Give you a peek into this podcast that will be published next week officially. But we wanted to give you a peek. But yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
How has social media impacted you when it comes to your business or the personal branding? Yeah.
Yeah. So she know that's a subject for me. As a person who kind of. I would say I'm a private person. I had to really embrace social media. Again, it's a great tool, right? And you want to be use every tool, like I said earlier. But for me, it took me a while to embrace it. Yeah. And so now I'm embracing it and trying to share because I want to have a greater impact, right? Yeah. And really try to touch some people in a positive way. So I had to learn to embrace social media, get out there. And now that's what I'm doing. I'm sharing some of the things or seminars or speaking engagements that I've had. I'm sharing them with the public now. So, wanting to do that and again, get a wider reach.
One thing I had to, even though I've been doing social media for a while, I'm also like you, I'm a private person, right? And I consider Facebook to be probably one of the more intimate platforms. Okay. Compared to, Twitter and everything else. And I think when people like us, when we start to position ourselves, because it's like we do have this message, right? This education, this information we want to share to the masses. Social media allows us to do it so quickly. And I'm going to say there's still some effort. I'm not going to say effortless, but so quickly that we can reach more people. And one thing I'm still struggling with is, like, even though I want to share, I'm still learning to open myself up to receive. Right. So I had a past guest. He listened to the show. He gave me a call on Friday evening. I'm at home. I'm resting. Like, my day's over. My week is over. My day is over. And he calls me. He was like, Michelle, I love your podcast. The interview was great. I listened to some, and I was like, okay, like, why are you calling me? I got to realize, like, the more I put myself out there, it's like a ministry.
Right, exactly.
And it's not in the traditional sense where we have the brick and mortar church, but we have a message, we have a story to tell, and we have experiences, insight, and perspective to share, and people want to hear that, and people want to relate.
Right. No, I agree, and that's sometimes it's you like you say, you have a message and you want to impact people, but sometimes it takes a little, like, okay. Yeah, let's really do this. Yeah, let's get it out there to the masses. Exactly. Okay. And so I will say, being around people like yourself, other classmates in HBLI, my fraternity brothers, just being around people that achieve and looking for excellence gives you that confidence, but also the humility to go out there and say, share your story, give your message. You have something to share that can make a difference and an impact.
Right. Between HBLI and you being in a fraternity, how important is community? Because I think lots of times when we transition, we tend to outgrow. But how important is community, leadership teams and stuff to be there as you grow and evolve as a person?
It's very important. I'm real big on mentorship. And so I think you always need mentors or advisors, if you will, however you want to shape it and call it. And so they have an impact on your life because you're going to different stages in life. Like I said, I'm a father, I have 2 young boys, a beautiful wife. And so you always want, to get nuggets of information so that you can, again, put your family in a better situation or move them forward, right? And move your legacy forward, right? And so with that, being around great people, great thinkers, achieving that helps motivate you, and then also gives you humility to say, okay, well, I'm doing well, but no, there's other people doing well as well. So I think that's very important to have that. And then, like I say, for my kids, because I like to think I know they love dad and think dad's cool, but at some point they can say, okay, who else is saying kind of what dad's saying? And so when you have those people around you, or you can connect them with those people or their kids, their peers, as they grow up, it just strengthens their growth. So absolutely. Community and, it takes a village. That's just sounds cliche, but it's so true.
So true. And I mean, even with that cliche, right, and air quotes.
Exactly.
The thing is, it doesn't stop when you're young, right? It doesn't stop when you send your child or you go to college. It's like that village is forever growing. Like I am 34 and I still need a village.
Exactly.
It doesn't stop. And I think we need to be more mindful of that. And I guess it could be terminology as well. Village, mentorship, sorority, fraternity. But you still need people. You still need those resources to tap into in order for you to elevate yourself.
Definitely.
I'll put this out there. One thing I'm struggling with on this, I say I'm on this incline, right? Because success is very broad, but I'm on this incline, but I feel like, I don't know. I mean, on one hand, people are saying I'm doing well, but I'm also losing friends.
Oh, wow. So
what advice do you have for me to negate that battle where I feel like I have my little circle, my community, but...
Well, I'm going to tell you,
keep it real.
Man, look, I always say, and I know a lot of people, just like a lot of people, but we really don't have a lot of friends, right? And again, that's not a selfish thing. It's not to slap in the face to anybody, but you have to worry about you first, right, and moving yourself forward. So you say you're on the incline and you're growing, which is a great thing, and it's not necessarily that you lose friends. It's you lose maybe that contact with that person, or you guys change, right? Or your conversation is different. So, and I think sometimes people, and even myself, we may take it personally with someone, but it's just maybe a season, right? And it's not like you can't have conversations, but the conversations you have with that person change, or your conversation not the same with that person. And so you never, lose touch with that person or think less of them, but you move forward. You're having different conversations. You're in different rooms now. And so again, as we're all challenged with time is a finite resource. Sometimes you don't have the communication or the touch points with people, or they don't have them with you. And so sometimes it's left that, you're not my friend anymore, or vice versa. When really it's not the case. It's, hey, we have conversations, we have things that we talk about. It's just that either them or you don't have that time for those conversations as much as you used to, because you're on the different conversations. We're not going to say better conversations. We're going to say different conversations.
In other words, don't worry about the pettiness. All right. So you also teach at Prairie View A&amp University.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How long have you been teaching there?
I'm going into my 4th year.
Already?
Yeah. Time is a finite resource that moves so fast.
Wow. Okay. And you recently won an award.
Yes. It's been let me say this first. I'm blessed to be there.
Okay.
It's a great institution of higher learning, second oldest public institution in the state of Texas. A lot of people don't know that. It's older than that university in Austin. Just want to put that out there, as an Aggie too. But now I got love for everybody. But no, and so blessed to teach in the College of Business there. Have a mentor program that recently started up. But while I've been there, I teach in the finance department. Having a passion for financial literacy, I started a group where I take some of my college students to a local high school to teach financial literacy to high school students. And so just really trying to engage the students at Prairie View and really connect with them, as well as, young people in general. it allowed me to win an award for service, nominated one by my peers and then also by the students in the College of Business. So I'm really blessed and honored and humbled to win those awards. But it really speaks to, one, the importance of financial literacy, because that's the platform that's was the award was kind of based on for the work done there, but also the fact that, I always like to say, you don't give to get, but if you give, you will get. So I didn't do the program to receive an award or notoriety or anything like that. It was really to have an impact on my current students at Prairie View, but then also, kind of teach them this is what you do, and they have a great heart anyway, for the community and their peers.
You also had a trip recently. Where was it? South Africa?
Yeah. Was blessed to travel to South Africa with some students at Prairie View. One of my colleagues, Dr. Lawrence McNeil, he's a great professor at Prairie View and impacting, and he teaches economics. And so Prairie View as a goal to expose students and get more students abroad is a program to take students, to different countries. And so Dr. McNeil, my colleague, he wrote it up and spearheaded the whole program and just needed my assistance with a few things. And so I was honored and pleased to help him with that. And so we took several students out to South Africa, to Johannesburg and Cape Town, where it was, an immersion into the culture, both from a business standpoint and, like I said, the culture, the people there. So it was an amazing experience.
I love it. I mean, because that goes back to what we said earlier. It's about the exposure, right? And I love the word knowledge transfer. And I'm fortunate because my parents are from Cameroon, so I was able to travel at a young age. But we really do need to expose our young Black adults, African American adults, to things outside. Traveling can be the best education.
Yeah.
So, and then to do that within the college environment, I think that's awesome. So, kudos to you both. Shout out to Dr. Lawrence McNeil. It's always a pleasure working with him.
Yes, he's a great professor. They're a great leader on the campus and in the college. And like I say, I was really the thing about, dealing with the students, either whether it's with taking them to do the financial literacy or going to going to South Africa with them, or, being an advisor for a student organization, you get to interact with them outside the classroom and really get to know them and have conversations. And obviously you're hoping you're impacting them, but they're impacting you at the same time. So, really motivating. One of the students, she just graduated, Jasmine Stith. She has a YouTube channel, The Pretty Plug. Shout out to The Pretty Plug. She, she has a great job. She's going to work for Goldman in New York, but she also has this YouTube channel that she has, and The Pretty Plug, and just her entrepreneurial mindset while still, leveraging her education. It's great. Had the opportunity to work with Keelan Swain and ISIS. They have a great business that they have, Explosion, a bat technology. I've taken them to a couple of competitions.
I met them at
Black Enterprise. Yes, that's what I'm saying. They just graduated.
Very impressive.
Oh man.
That's not my niche, but I saw their presentation. It was kind of like a one-on-one conversation. Very impressive.
Yeah, man. I'm really proud of them. I watched them grow from a competition a year ago, and just where they are in their company. Again, it's encouraging to see, because we young people sometimes get a bad rap of lack of motivation or things like that. But these are some young people that are out there going to get it and really working hard and striving to reach their goals and to make a difference. And so you have to applaud that. And like I say, being around that. Like I said, I would like to think I'm having an impact on them, but I can truly say they're having an impact and motivating me to push it to the next level, and really, do some things to push you, your family, and your community forward, which is what we're here to do.
Absolutely. So what's next? What's next for you? The next 6 months, rest of 2017. What can we expect?
Several things. From obviously, number one is got to keep God first, and continue to try to grow and have that impact, and then lead my family. Really excited about my boys as they transition in school, and you're getting older, and supporting my wife. She's a great mother and teacher. So you obviously got to have home structured first, which is a blessing. She allows me to do the things that I can do, whether it's at Prairie View with my business. So, and then from there, at Prairie View, we have a financial planning minor that we're really pushing to, again, arm students for a profession that needs minorities and women, right? So we're going to be doing a lot of work with that, continue to push the financial literacy program forward to reach other schools. So schools in the Houston area, I'm going to be looking to contact you to bring my students to, share some financial concepts with your high school students or even junior high students to give them that insight, like we talked about earlier, to kind of push our community forward. Because like I say, I like to think I'm still young and cool, but hearing it from a college student or somebody that they look up to, but also view as a peer, is, I think, positive and will have a positive impact on them really taking the information. One, that's first, taking the information, but then the second step is to use the information. And so we're going to be working with that and obviously continue to grow my business, my financial practice and my consulting. And then also, again, the solutions provider is also the educator motivator. So, I'm looking to get out in front of various audiences, whether it's youth, professionals, young professionals, seasoned professionals, looking to go to the next level and really make an impact. So I feel like I know I have some things to share to educate the audience, but then motivate them to use it and move forward. Because it's two steps, right? You have to have the information. You have to know what you want to do, but then you have to, pull up your bootstraps and go do it.
Right. And I think that's the thing, because financial can be very intimidating. At any age, really. And what I like about what you just said with the financial planning minor, I do think it's one of those things where we're always saying we have to target our children early, younger. But you're right. I'm aging up and maybe I can't target them anymore. But if I could put that college student to fill that gap, and it was like, well, my big brother is the same age as him, or my big sister, and I listen to my big brother, so maybe I'll listen to him or her. I think that's very smart and strategic. So I know that's going to be successful, and I pray that it's successful.
Yeah, thank you.
Because I don't see anyone else, or I haven't seen anyone else doing that in that arena. So kudos to you. Definitely want to get behind that and support that.
Thank you.
Any way possible.
Please.
So as we wrap up, Danny, I just want to acknowledge you we've been friends for a while.
Yeah.
It has to be like more than 4 years.
Oh, yeah, way more than
PV. But I just...
And we go back to Black NBA board.
I know, but what is that? So that must be 6 years?
Yeah.
5 years?
I want to... At least 7. I would say 7. I would say 7, yeah.
Okay. That sounds right. But no, I always enjoy, we've had great conversations. We've always been able to support each other and keep it all the way real when it comes to this business thing. So I appreciate that, because I think overall as a woman, it becomes hard on who can I talk to when it comes to male friends. But we've always just been great in the pocket with our friendship and supporting each other. And I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
As I ask you the final question, you've done a lot of things. Mm-hmm. What has been your biggest ask? That one question you had to ask someone for help, time, resources, and really about the power of ask and how you've been able to receive.
Well, to me, the biggest ask and most important ask is always about fatherhood. I'm real passionate about that. A parent is, again, the toughest job on the planet. Mm-hmm. I think the most important job. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I'm always looking for nuggets from, parents and men in particular that I really respect and value. And you talk about leadership, it's one thing, you see a lot of great leaders, but what I don't want to be is, again, I'm in no way saying I'm great, but again, I'm on the path to greatness. Absolutely. I'm just going to embrace that by God's grace. And so, but I don't want to be great in any arena, whether it's in the financial arena or in leadership or speaking, and somebody looks at my family and it's, or my kids aren't progressing or my wife's not happy. So to me, as I, try to navigate being an entrepreneur, being an educator, a speaker, I really look to talk to successful people who I can look and see their family and see how they are, So there's a lot of people I really respect and who, bless me, who the Lord's put in my life to bless me. And so those are the biggest asks. And I really value that because, again, that's what's important to me. So, whether it's, obviously starting with my mom, who's, she's a great supporter. And I think another reason why I can, have a healthy, just appreciation for women and striving because of my mom, but her, and then just people where she strategically placed me when I was young to be able to watch things. And then you're younger, you're not necessarily asking, but you're watching.
Right.
And so those people who I can, call on now and, really have adult conversations with is just a blessing, family members. So those things to me are most impactful. Obviously, like I say, you have a team around you, from a business standpoint to try to grow you and impact you. But really, like I say, those things about being a father and a husband are the most important, because that's one job or one thing, one, I'm not going to quit. And two, I want to be very successful at.
Yeah. I want to stay on this. I guess, how do you manage that balance of everything? Because I know you do a lot.
Man, I tell you, it's the balance is one. Again, you got to have the priorities, right? Line it up. God, family, everything else, right? And, what are your goals? What am I trying to accomplish? And those things change, right? As opportunities come.
Right.
Sometimes I know I have to learn to decline some things or put some things on the back burner, which is kind of a learn as I go type thing, right? I continue to bump my head on some things, and I'll be honest about that. But it really starts with, obviously putting God first and being led by Him. And again, I say, as I said earlier, try to walk by faith. Because sometimes it's, honesty. Sometimes I'll be like, no, I want to go this way, Lord. Or now, Lord. And,
sorry, I went that way.
Exactly. And you're like, yeah, I know you are. But so, starts there. Obviously, like I say, my wife, she's a great supporter and great partner and helpmate to allow me to, do things. But and like I say, then it's after that, it's the goals, right? What am I trying to accomplish? What's my plan of action? And then prioritize. This week, and it's fluid. And that's also the beauty about being an entrepreneur. Sometimes it's fluid, and you have to make adjustments, right? Like I was telling you earlier, this week is a lot of stuff with the kiddos and camps and sports activities, doctor appointments. So you got to do those things, but also, time like this, being able to share and also communicate to the masses. When possible.
All right. So Danny, I just asked you about balance, but a lot of Black women right now are killing the game. Like, number one in education, leading small businesses, so many things, right? What about our brothers? How can Black women support our Black men?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So it's not a tough one in the sense that, you know what? I'll be honest. When you said that support them, I thought about a relationship. And it doesn't always have to be like that.
Right.
That's why I said it's a tough one.
Right.
It doesn't always have to be like that, and it could just be, mutual respect,
right?
And encouragement. Hey, I like what you're doing, bro. Maybe I can give you some tips here or there. And then also it's two-way street, right? We have to be willing to receive it and use it to our benefit. So, I think it happens. It just, a lot of stories, we always hear about the negative before we hear about the positive, right? But I think there's a lot of great collaboration going on in the community, with various ages and sexes, right? You look at HBLI for one, right? Connecting, young and up and coming leaders with more seasoned and wise leaders, right? You look at the Greater Houston Black Chamber, right? Organization, obviously a stalwart in the Black community, but now the past two presidents have been females, right? Which is a great thing, right? And you still continue to have leaders around them and supporting them, and more, women to come, right? And so I think as we look to, push ourselves forward and our network forward, it's going to be, yes, people that look like you, whether it's from a color standpoint or from a sex standpoint, but it's also going to be those who don't look like you, right? Because it's good business, and it just makes sense, I think, right? To really support those who are supporting you or who are about the things you're about. And I think that's where we got to find commonality, right? What are the things that you care about? I don't care if you don't look like me or look like me, or we're opposite sex. It's like, hey, let's move this agenda forward. So I think, a lot of times certain demographics are targeted to, bring up, whether it's minorities or women, right? And rightly so, right? Because we want equal footing, right? But we have to be willing to support each other and not be jealous, right?
Yeah. And, I had this conversation with Holly, and I think that was I'm glad you said it's a tough one, but then you changed, because I think initially we have to get past thinking we can only support the men in our household, right? I can only support the man I'm with or my brother, cousin, whatever. And I really feel like once we get out of that mindset of you're just a good man doing your thing, I support you, and you're a good sister doing your thing, and I support you, and it's not about anything intimate or whatever, I think we can progress as a people. And I don't know, even though I said it, I don't know what it's going to take or, you know, what action steps are going to follow, but I think that's one thing that could quickly progress our community over time.
Yeah, I agree. You know, we gotta, again, just, it's a balance of, like you say, this is my house, these are my people, and that's all I support, right? Because, I mean, you gotta have that. You want to have some support from the people in your immediate, but we also need to expand that. And it's gonna, what they say, rising tide, raises all boats. And so if we can get other families doing that and other people, then, you know, again, come together and move things forward, and, you know, you have that positive and greater lasting impact.
I like that. All right.
So, you know, like I was saying earlier, I really admire Michelle, and, you know, we were calculating how far we go back, and I was really, you know, just impressed by the things you've done and watched you grow, and now the impact you're having. So if I may turn the tables briefly for a moment, obviously this is your podcast, Networking with Michelle, which is a great podcast. But if I could ask Miss Michelle a couple questions, I'd really love to do that.
Okay.
All right. So tell me, what's in your future?
Oh, man. Like you, I'm also believing I'm pursuing this path of greatness, and I've been kind of stagnant. I'm working on 2 books, one called Connect with Confidence, another one called Success Undefined.
Awesome.
I'm hoping to release one of those within the next couple of months. And just more. I haven't been speaking per se as much, but definitely just speaking as getting my message out there. I'm currently teaching at Remington College. I would love to teach at a HBCU.
Okay.
And I would love to pursue a PhD program. But as we're coming to find out, timing is very, very important. But those are the things I have in mind within the next 6 to 12 months.
Awesome. Yeah. So you talk about your next 2 books that you're coming out. And I'm sure obviously your listeners know, but hopefully, we got some new listeners on. And so tell me, your first book, I was so impressed with that. Can you talk a little bit about, that path and how that's benefited you?
Talk about what I remember. Yeah, so September 2014, I released Network, Navigate, and Nurture, The Equation to Strategic Networking. It's about just value-based networking. And that was, I'm glad you brought that up. When I wrote that book, I was under a lot of pressure. I had a lot to prove at that time. And I'm by far no means, making a lot of money, but I no longer feel that pressure. And I think that's why I'm stuck with the current books that I'm working on. But that book, it definitely served its purpose. Allowed me to put a little money in my pocket, allowed me to get the speaking engagements that I was looking for, some free, some paid. But it definitely created this path that I'm on now. Like, I didn't know. And I think the good thing about that book was I wrote that book I wrote and released the book within my first year of business.
Okay.
And then I was promoting the book, and then I released this podcast. This podcast is a spinoff from the book, 6 months after the book, right? Okay. So each year I've had something pivotal happen since I've started business, and I don't think people talk about that as much. People talk about sell, but you also got to think about, like, what are these major projects I can release as a business owner to create momentum and impact in my business to kind of hit that surge.
Wow.
Versus just, the traditional one-on-one cold calling and, whatever the case may be.
Man, that's awesome. So you talk about the podcast, which is over 100
episodes.
Yeah. Shout out to you.
Yeah, we'll just leave it right there. Yeah, it's over 100 episodes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It speaks to your consistency. Yeah, like I said, I'm very proud of you.
It wasn't easy. I think podcasting has definitely been one of the hardest things that I've done, because I've had blogs before, but I'm like, okay, I don't know who's reading. And with podcasts, I log in, I know how many people are listening, and I mean, I don't know if they're ears or bots, but I see numbers, and I'm like, okay. And then, I struggled in the very beginning because it is a lot of work, and but people would hit me up on social media. They're like, where's your show? Or where's your newsletter? And it's like, oh.
They're looking for you.
Right.
They want it.
Right. And, I always say, I'm like, hey, these streets are watching. Like, I don't know. Like, look. And they may not. And I'm going to just tell people now, be encouraged, especially if you're trying to, if you're very new in your personal branding, be encouraged. Because lots of times you're like, people are not liking my post or not commenting on my post. People are watching. I cannot say that enough. People are watching. People are watching. And I don't know where they're coming from, but they are watching. And just whatever you do, please be consistent. And right now I'm getting a lot more bravado, right? Like, well, Networking with Michelle, the go-to podcast for African American millennials. Boom, right? Now, look, I know there's better podcasters out there. I don't care. They're not saying what I'm saying. But I'll tell you this. When I started in 2015, there was a lot of people that started with me. They did a couple episodes, gone. Or they're like, or this is another thing. They're like, oh, I don't have enough listeners, or I'm not making any money, gone. And this, because they stopped, I've been able to rise to the top.
There you go.
Gotta stay consistent.
I love it. You gotta stay consistent. You touched on something when you say people are not making the money, because that's interesting.
Yeah.
When you talk about a business, and like you said, you had the book, and you started your business first, and then you launched the book. You said, then you've added different levels and things like that. And I think that's so impactful and speaks to your consistency, but also speaks to the fact that you had a plan.
Not really.
Well, okay. Well, so you didn't have a plan, but you were able to navigate the waters and stay afloat financially, right?
Yes.
And see, the reason why I bring that up, because I think that's so important with business. A lot of people have great ideas or great products, but they don't have the financial wherewithal, right? And so, every business owner knows. Sometimes it gets a little rocky, but you have to have that desire to know I have something of value and keep pushing. And it always can't be about the money, but you need the money to stay in business.
Yeah. Look, we can go so many things. One, cash flow rules everything.
Tell them.
Yes, cream, but cash flow. Okay, Wu-Tang, y'all should have mentioned the flow part. Because I have some cash. I have some cash coming in. Y'all know, hit me up in 2 weeks. Y'all know that. But, really, cash flow is everything. It's the same thing, whether it's personal or business.
Exactly.
It's cash flow, period. And I'll say this. When I started my business, and I was doing okay. I was covering my bills, but what I realized, I wasn't making enough money to write my book, to produce my book, and therefore I went to go get a job because I need money not just for my bills but for my projects. So for any business owner, new, current, that's another thing I want to tell you. You're probably doing okay, but make sure you set aside that extra money for any type of projects that you want to launch, because that's what's really, I don't want to say hurt you, but that can take a lot of your coins, and I don't think people talk about that enough. As far as a plan, I think now I'm in a position to plan, but I don't know. I can't say that now. I couldn't say that then when I released the book, but every year I'm like, okay, what's that one thing I can do to kind of, that's going to be a highlight. Now I've done some things and they failed, but I just keep doing some more. So, yeah.
I like what you said about
the cash flow.
Yeah.
And that's very important for a business owner. And I like to tell people, if you can run your business, the business of you, you can run any business, right? From a cash flow standpoint, starting with the cash.
Yeah.
It's very important that you understand and know how to navigate your budget.
Yeah.
Right. And somebody says, well, show me. Well, then you can show them yours. It's not your first time doing it. So if you can manage your household, I always tell young people, think of yourself as a business. If you think of yourself as a business and you run that, then you can run your business or someone else's business from a financial standpoint, from a planning standpoint, all of that. So it starts with you.
Absolutely. And don't look, you can make me bust out all these hip hop lines because Jay-Z said it best. You say, what do you say? I'm not a business. I'm a businessman.
Yeah, I'm not a businessman. I'm a businessman.
Right.
Yes.
And yeah, the business of you. And once again, that's so important. I mean, so many aspects, right? Revenue, income. And people are like, well, if I could make $10K a month, that would be great. Well, how much are you going to pay yourself out of that $10K? Right? Because if you pay yourself $3,000, okay, so your business has $7K, but like how much is that as business expenses? Do you have any employees? So there's just so many things that are not spoken about that are very, very important as a new entrepreneur, that you just have to find your way through that.
Or get some assistance.
Get a solution provider.
There you go. Tell them again. Right?
Get the dynamic firm.
There you go. Exactly. A wise person knows what he doesn't know and tries to find it.
Yeah.
Right. And so again, you don't have to have all the answers, but if you know where to find them, you'll be okay. Come talk to the solutions provider.
Number one, definitely. Yeah, that's something I learned at Invesco. It's like you don't need to know everything, but you need to know how to find it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something to be said for, learning and doing.
Absolutely.
Right. A lot of entrepreneurs talk about, and again, don't question anyone's dreams, and you can start, being an entrepreneur, maybe not work for anybody, but it's something to be said for one, working and learning a process from a business owner or working for someone, but also getting that cash flow from them or from that business to spur along your business. So again, young entrepreneurs, think about that, right? I mean, it's great and it sounds great to have your own, and I don't work for anybody, and it sounds great and it is great, but think about maybe learning to work for somebody first, so you then know how to treat your employees or create a process so that you can truly have a business that makes money while you're not there or while you sleep.
Absolutely. I think employment, I'm not going to say corporate or not, but employment period before entrepreneurship is very important because it provides that type of structure. And therefore you have less to figure out. But also, I feel like when I left corporate in 2013, I believe, 2012, 2013, I can't remember. But I feel like every message was for me, and entrepreneurship is sexy, and everyone's like, go all in. It's all in or nothing. And I'm like, look, people, there's nothing wrong with keeping your job. There is nothing wrong with keeping your job part-time, full-time. There's nothing wrong with keeping it until you're ready.
Or until it's costing you to be there.
Right.
If it's not costing you to be there, then you might want to be there because it's funding what you have going, especially in this day and age when a lot of things can be done while you have a steady job or steady check coming in. And then once it costs you and once you're missing out on money being there, then it's time to leave.
Right.
Or again, sometimes it may take a sacrifice and you living lean for a while to move it forward because you need a little extra time. But have a structure in place.
Yes, please don't be ashamed about that. That's all I'm saying. And maximize your PTOs, vacations, holidays, whatever. Maximize it all. Just if you get a bonus, second quarter, third quarter, whatever, you get a bonus, put that back into your business, pay off some debt before you quit your job. It's okay. That's all I'm saying. It is okay to work.
Exactly. And again, you'll move forward faster if you have a financial plan and you have a strategy. Again, what's going to go into your household, what's going to service those what are you going to save, and then what's going into a business. So again, that's where you need a plan, and you can sit down and create it yourself, or you can, get with somebody to help you with that plan, but you want to have a plan. So I thank you for allowing me to ask you some questions because again, like I said, I listen to your podcast and you have some great guests, some phenomenal guests, but you have a lot to share and a lot of insight. And so I just wanted your listeners to hear a little bit, the nuggets that you have. And also I want to hear them too. Yeah, I appreciate the help and encouragement.
I've been told that they're like, Michelle, I want to hear more of you. And I'm like, oh, okay.
That's that bravado.
I'm working on it.
You're doing it. So again, so I will turn it back over to you, but thank you for allowing me to ask you a couple questions, and I'm sure your listeners were glad you allowed me to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really the behind the scenes, right? It's the real conversation. I mean, we kept it real earlier.
Exactly. Exactly. But
no, I mean,
bonus footage.
It's always a pleasure. And, look, people, I'm here for you. If you have questions, you can email me, hit me up on social media. I'll be glad to answer your questions. I'll be glad to get specific guests for whether it's a person or a topic on here. This show is really about you, so however I can help you, I'm here for you. I'm here for the people.